Welcome to Exploring the Paranormal. Hosted by Heather Leigh, PhD, Exploring the Paranormal offers a new, fresh look into paranormal research. Join Heather as she discusses some of the many haunted locations worldwide, discusses why these locations are haunted, hear from paranormal researchers about their personal experiences at these locations. Additionally, Heather takes a journey into the science behind the paranormal, discussing topics such as thermodynamics and the Heisenberg principle, and how they both affect paranormal activity. Now, your host of Exploring the Paranormal, Dr. Heather Leigh.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the show. I see Lee's already joining us. Happy to have you here, Lee. Super excited to get this morning going. And today is going to be a fabulous day, as always. You guys know I love to wake up. The sun is shining today. No storms expected in the next couple days. So we have a great break from that. So lots of exciting things hopefully can happen during the break of the storms that we've been getting. So make sure you stay tuned for what's coming up. That's the one thing I've been wanting to get out of the house, do some exploring, get some photos for my upcoming books. But every time we plan on getting out, it's raining. So just hasn't quite happened yet, but lots of things will be happening. I guess that's what you get for being a paranormal investigator who investigates outdoor locations and not just indoor locations. So super excited. I think we're trying to get to the Fort Dade. Is an outdoor fort on an island here in Tampa area. And then also the Gamble Plantation. It is the only antebellum plantation still standing in Florida, or at least in southern Florida. And from the pictures I've seen, I can't wait to get there and do some exploring and see what is still hanging around that plantation. So stay tuned. I will be sharing information about that on both our Patreon. Those who are Patreon supporters, which I'll talk about in a little bit, will get advance notice of different events we're doing. We might even start sharing places we're going. So if you're in the area and you want to meet up with us, you can. And you'll also be the first to get clips from my books, as well as seeing evidence and photos from our little activities and adventures first before we share with everyone else. But like I said, we'll get to that a little bit later. Around 10:30 today, Father Kenneth Torres will be joining us. We are going to talk about many things, including he has a new book out about demonology and tons of questions because I've talked about it before, how every religion has their own rite of exorcism. But because even though I was born and raised Roman Catholic, not really something I got into until after I had left the Catholic faith. So my rite of exorcisms that I know are all pagan based. So I'm looking forward to diving deep into what he has to say, his experiences, and also to talk. I think he has another book coming out that's a sequel to this one, and just kind of get where his inspiration's coming from. And it's boggling my mind. I want to know what he does as a pastor and all of that stuff. So I'm truly curious as to what his life is like. And that's just because you guys know me. I'm curious about everything, want to know more. And the more you learn, the more you can better help people. And that's why I always tell people. I was on a podcast last night and we were talking about how it is so important to continue learning. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. Read a book, read an article. I was joking around how I put YouTube on in the background for background noise. And even though the paranormal shows are for entertainment, I still throw them on the background, and I catch myself watching a show now and then being like, oh, I've never heard of that piece of equipment, or I never thought of that location or that type of experiment. So, even if you watch those shows, know they're for entertainment, but you can still pick and choose what's great, what is good information, and just always keep learning is what I keep telling people. So for those of you who are new to the show, I just have a couple basic information to share with you. Those of you who've been watching, I guess this is a little reminder. But for those of you who don't know me, I have been researching the paranormal field for more than 35 years. That's one question I'm always asked is, Heather, how long have you been doing this? And a whole bunch of stuff. I do want to have an episode where I share more into my personal experiences. So I'm working on that. And I'm also going to be gathering a whole bunch of different photos that I can share with you guys during that one. And we might be doing that later this year. I'm an author, lecturer, paranormal researcher, motivational speaker, life coach, and educator. Just throw all those in at once. If you guys have any questions, chances are I either know the answer, or if not, I know who to get the answer from. So even during the show, comment any questions you have, paranormal related, and I will do the best to get you the answer the best I can, or find someone who can get that to you. Haunted Southern Nevada Ghost Towns is still sold out on Amazon. They have a July ship date. So if you guys are looking for a copy, I have 5 copies still that are waiting to be sent out. Just message me. Ghosts and Legends of the Vegas Valley is available on Amazon. I only have 1 copy of that left. So if you want that as well. Haunted Florida Lighthouses, I am taking a wait list for that book. If you want to get an autographed copy, send me a message, and I will message you in August for the invoicing, and then they will ship out September 11th. And then also right now, I'm working on Haunted Florida Ghost Towns, which I am having a blast. I spent all weekend working on that while it was raining, and definitely having fun writing that one. And then also, of course, we have Haunted Florida theme parks, roadside attractions, and Civil War sites coming out within the next year. So make sure you keep your eyes open for that. And I do have 3 other book projects that can't really say too much about yet, because I'm waiting to find out some information on publishing those. So once that information comes, you guys will be the first to know. Ghost Education 101. We had a great show with Johnny Zaffis last week. He's an amazing guy. I love chatting with him. The 2 hours just flew by before we knew it. The end of the show was there. But next week we have a special guest, being that it's July 5th. We really didn't want to do anything major. I mean, we still want to do something major because the guest I have is amazing. But we didn't really want to do any of our typical educational stuff, because we figured people want to have fun, or they're not going to be watching live. So we are going to have special guest Blake Best. He is a horror actor. He does songwriting for different podcasts and different movies. He's an author, motivational speaker, you name it, he does it. He's a me. And he's just an amazing guy. I love chatting with him. And I haven't gotten full confirmation from him, but I'm hoping he opens up a little bit more. But I think he might be talking about some different paranormal experiences he might have had while he was on set filming. So if I've read his post correctly, that might be it. If not, it's still going to be a fun show. You never know. Of course, Real Haunts Motion Picture Video, Real Haunts Ghost Towns, and Real Haunts 3 are available on Prime for $4.99 or Tubi. I think you could also rent it for $1.99, but for $4.99, it's worth have, because on those we do everything from talk about the history of the locations, our paranormal experiences, little mini investigations. And then I know in our sections of it, I'm trying to remember in Real Haunts 3 if the other sections do, but in our section of the documentaries, we also talk about the different equipment and the different ways to investigate. Ghost Adventures Lake Mead, I'm still getting lots and lots of messages on that one. So thank you everyone who has watched that and sent me a message about that. It is available on Max and Discovery Plus. And of course, you guys know the new show I'm hosting with Joe Frankie, Passport to the Paranormal. Our next episode is this Thursday night, and we are going to actually have our children on. I'm going to have my son Aiden, who's been investigating with me for at least the last 5-6 years, and he's going to have his children on who have not investigated, and we're going to talk about growing up paranormal and what it's like to be the children of a paranormal investigator. So that should be a fun one. And real quick, just a few last things before we move on to a couple different show topics. As I mentioned, I do have a new Patreon set up. You can find it. I have the link on at Dr. Heather Leigh, and also on my at Exploring the Paranormal show Facebook page. And with that, I have a whole bunch of different levels, 5, 25, 50, and it goes up. And you can get anywhere depending on what level you want to sign up for, behind the scenes, advance notice of events. I think there's one level I have where I give gifts if you attend an event, a special gift just for you if you're a Patreon supporter. There's a level that includes shamanic life coaching, and levels that also include show sponsorship. So make sure to check that out. I also include one-on-one calls as well as a monthly Q&A with different levels. So I'm actually have fun putting all the content together for that. And this summer is going to be amazing on the Patreon page. And don't forget, July 1st, I can't believe we're already there. July 1st, class registration opens up for TMCC for my online classes. So make sure you register September 25th for the ABCs of Paranormal Research. It is a 3-hour course, and I think I saw that one because I haven't really looked, but I think that one I saw it was $45 a person. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it was. And then October 9th is Ghost Hunting 101. So those are fun classes, and if you register and attend the class live, you will be entered to win a free copy of one of my books of your choice. So real quick, let me go through. I didn't even see the comments because I've been reading off of my script that I have. So welcome, Phoenix, for joining today. How soon? Never mind. You just answered about the lighthouse payment. Yeah, I have you on the list, Lee. So I'll make sure I send you a message. And good morning, Jamie Lynn. Welcome to the show. Yep, super excited to have everybody here, and it's an exciting day. So while I'm waiting for my guest to come on, like I said, I told him to join us about 10:30. So that way he didn't have to sit and listen to everything because, trust me, he's heard it 100 times. He's been on the show before, and I've talked to him several times about everything. I wanted to talk briefly about, this was a presentation that I had done a while ago, but it was paranormal tourism versus urban exploration. And that's the one thing that a lot of people don't understand the difference. A lot of people, actually rewind a little bit. There's a couple different types of paranormal investigators. You have those that are in it for the answers and to help people. You have those who are in it for the answers and to help people, but are kind of like hobbyists. They do it part-time. And then you have those that are in it, thrill seekers, is what my friend Larry Lawson says. He calls them paranormal thrill seekers. So you have like the 3 different levels. I'm sure if you dive deeper, there's more levels within those levels. But it's paranormal tourism can help the field, but it can also hurt the field. And that's kind of like, I want to make sure people understand the differences. And then as those who want to be actual paranormal investigators, it's one of those things where I don't want to say you need to learn how to do it right, but you kind of do. So that way you don't get hurt. You don't get arrested. You don't, it's for everyone's safety basically involved. So real quick, let's talk about paranormal tourism. And I classify this as a special section of traditional tourism. It's going to haunted locations, learning about haunted history, taking travel to these different haunted locations like Gettysburg, Williamsburg. You can go to Waverly Hills. There's a whole bunch of different, the Queen Mary. A lot of people go to the Queen Mary for the history or Gettysburg for the history, but there's a lot of people who go there just to be there because there's paranormal activity there. People stay in haunted hotels. They enjoy the paranormal tours that they offer. But there is a lot of controversy over if paranormal tourism is exploiting the ghost or anything like that. So that is a topic of conversation that comes up a lot. But I always say paranormal tourism is educational, exciting, and enjoyable. I have a friend who runs, hi Yvette, thank you for joining. I do have a friend who runs the Indian River Huntings over in Indian River, Vero Beach area. And he does it to raise money for the local historical societies. And the way he does it is they're educational, they're informative, they're safe because it's a walking tour. He's investigated the location and knows there's no negative energies there to attack. And he knows that the property is safe and not run down. So if you do that, make sure, I've taken ghost tours. I mean, you guys hear me talk all the time. I go up to Gettysburg and I meet up with Mark Nesbitt and go on his ghost tours. Love his ghost tours. If you guys want an amazing ghost tour, get to Gettysburg and do the Gettysburg candlelight tours. If Mark is guiding it, it's amazing. But I've heard lately that he has a lot of his tour guides doing it, but he's trained them right. So make sure you guys get up there. That is an absolute amazing tour. So then on the flip side, we have urban exploration. It is completely different than paranormal tourism. It's where investigators go into abandoned structures such as hospitals, schools, amusement parks, mines, and subway tunnels. It can be dangerous physically and psychically. It is, you can come in contact with toxins, black mold, and And then it's also illegal. If you don't have permission to be in a location, you really shouldn't be there. Plus, you don't know what animals are residing there, what people are residing there that shouldn't be on top of it. So there are a lot of risks with doing urban exploration. So basically the differences are paranormal tourism. You have tours, groups, events, historical sites. You learn about the paranormal, and it's in a controlled, safe environment. Urban exploration is abandoned locations, closed off to the public, no permission. They basically go to antagonize the spirits. It's illegal, trespassing, and can be hazardous. So if you guys want to go to new locations, check to see if there's a tour, or if you are an established paranormal investigator and know what you're doing, get permission, call ahead, get that permission in writing, and just make sure that you're supposed to be there. And even if you have permission to be there, don't antagonize the spirits. I see that way too many times. They were human too. I still say they are human, so be nice and treat them with respect. Paranormal tourism, including urban exploration, is not recommended because it can be dangerous. These are usually experienced by those with lack of training. It can result, if you don't know what you're doing, with oppression, obsession, or possession, depending on where you go. You can experience physical attacks. They're often remote locations, so help can't get to you. Cell phone service doesn't work. I mentioned you can face the living or the dead. You face dangers from both of them. And then you could also fall and get injured. Okay, so paranormal tourism, a lot of people say it can harm the field. I do want to say a great tour. Yes, St. Augustine does have a great ghost tour. Another one is, of course, the Key West one is good. Mount Dora. The one in Mount Dora, they actually get dressed up in period attire. I think the one in Key West, they do too. And the one in Mount Dora is a blast to go to. Their tour guides are humorous, in addition to taking you around to all the different locations. But paranormal tourism can harm the field. I've heard this a lot from people, and it is possible. Some of the people who do the urban exploration aspect of it give the ones that are in this for the right reasons bad names, because people generalize. Perception is reality 9 times out of 10. So it can hurt the field because it's dangerous. It encourages dangerous activities and behaviors. New paranormal investigators see these people on YouTube promoting what they're doing. And they're like, oh, that's what I need to do. So the next thing they know, they're going, they're breaking into buildings or doing stuff like that. Again, it's illegal and it's considered trespassing. Some people go to these locations to do dark practices. Not to say that there's anything against, dark magic or Satanism or anything like that, because it can all be done properly without harming people. But if you don't know what you're doing with these dark practices, or even, the light practices, you can open yourself up to a whole bunch of dangers, and even open up future people who go to that location. A lot of illegal practices happen during when people go to these abandoned places to investigate drugs, underage drinking. You can cause damage to the location. A lot of people, don't think about it, and they vandalize the place to make it look spookier. They remove objects from locations. They act unethically. And you also have tour and event groups that are not reputable. They sell tickets, make thousands upon thousands of dollars, and then cancel the event or don't show up for the event because there never was an event. And everybody is out their money, including the people that they hired to come and speak. So make sure if you do it, you talk to a reputable group and ask around and check their reviews. And then it also leads to ego and territory disputes among different paranormal investigators. I know that's the one question everybody's like, does it really? Suppression. I love that, Lee. I'm going to have to remember that one. I might have to talk to Blake about getting that turned into a song for our podcast. But yeah, a lot of people are like, what do you mean territory disputes? And I've seen it all the time. We saw it a lot in Vegas, more so there than here. In Florida, everybody seems to want to share with everybody. But out in Vegas, it was, we're the one and only team to investigate this location. No, we're not going to tell you where it is. No, we're not going to give you our evidence. And it's like, are they not telling us where it is because they want to keep it to themselves and have, wait for that TV show to come and want to investigate that location, and they're the only ones who've been there? Were they there illegally and they don't want people to know? Do they not want people to go in and conduct the same experiments and prove that they're wrong and it's not haunted. So many different things. And that's where doing paranormal or urban exploration aspect of paranormal tourism can hurt the field. But on the other side of the coin, it can help. I mean, paranormal tourism brings awareness. It helps spread more information about the true history of a location. The money from these tours helps preserve historical sites. It offers the proper training for people who want to, especially if you go to a group like the groups that we're doing, we're going to be, sorry, I'm getting the hiccups. We're going to be doing different tours. We're going to be doing different tours, including, a half hour to an hour educational session beforehand. So you get that, the training, the educational aspect of it, and not just the paranormal tour. It's in a safe environment because these tour companies have vetted these locations and they know they're safe. They know where to go. They know where not to go. So you have all of that. And the other thing, too, is I talked about in my people in Vegas are great. Yeah, no, who would have thought? But in my say your name, I've heard that. And you said that last time I got the hiccups. I need to do that. I think it's because I talk too fast. So when you guys listen to the replay it back at like 1/3 speed or something like that, and it'll sound normal. I keep reminding myself to slow down. But it's just, I have so much I want to say. I'm excited about the topic and it just all flows out. But anyway, I wrote extensively about it in my Lighthouse book about how paranormal tourists actually help the field because we can't always get paranormal evidence on command because we guys know ghosts don't talk on command. They like to interact with people when we're not expecting it. So a lot of the evidence that I've been given and that I use has come to me from people who went on vacation to St. Augustine and they captured this photo or they captured this, strange voice on their video camera during the tour, or they were, on an excursion in Key West and they captured this. So even though they're not paranormal investigators, they're still interested in the paranormal and they're capturing this stuff by not trying to capture it. So paranormal tourism is very beneficial to the field, but it needs to be done right. That's the reason why I do this presentation, because I want to make sure it's done right. And we got to stop people from breaking into abandoned locations. There's several locations I know in Goldfield, and I know several people on TV that are on TV now have broken into locations when they were first getting started and asked for forgiveness later once they captured evidence and got a TV contract. So just, don't break in, just get that permission. If they say no, there's hundreds, there's thousands, if not millions of locations around the world that you can get, paranormal activity and practice your research and do different things. But is there a safe way to experience paranormal activity? There are tons of safe ways. Like I said, take a tour. If you guys want to know, join a reputable paranormal investigation group. One thing I talked about last night on the podcast I was on is before you go out and buy all the equipment and decide to dive in, find a local team and ask to go on one or two of their investigations first to see what it's like. See if it's something you want to do. If it's a reputable team, they're not going to take you on a client investigation, but like the one team I was on, we investigated a location. Every month is our team meeting. We would open that up to people sometimes to have them come in and see what it was like. So, find a team, take a guided tour. You could always bring, your digital voice recorder or your camera with during that tour. Go to a location you have permission to be at and get it in writing and take a tour of that location during the daylight so you can mark any possible hazards. Never go alone. Don't antagonize the spirits, and be respectful. Show the spirits that you care about them and you're not there to cause trouble. And then if in doubt, if you have that gut feeling, stay home. Don't go. Okay. What if I don't want to join a team or become a paranormal investigator? I get this question a lot. And that's where that paranormal tourism comes into play. You have find a paranormal event. There's several companies out there like Flummery Promotions, Get Haunted, Haunted Hotel. There's Haunted America. I can't even remember them all. And I know some are no longer in existence. That goes to show how long I've been around. But they're everywhere. Find a tour in the local area. At least every county has some type of ghost tour. Attend a paranormal convention hosted by a reputable company. research and read about it online. Watch videos and podcasts. You don't just have to watch this podcast. Go on YouTube, search it, but use critical thinking and weed out what is reputable information and what is not. And, just go from there and see what happens and how things go on that one. Okay. And then I think, let me just look to make sure I covered everything on that one. Okay. Yep. And actually that is perfect timing because that was my last slide. And I've just been notified that Father Torres is in backstage waiting for us. So we are going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back.
Have fun for a great cause. July 1st, 2023, the Broadhead Manor fundraiser. Help save the roof and restore this iconic building to its natural state. Make a donation to receive some amazing gifts like psychic readings, books by authors Chad Lewis, Todd Bates, and Christina Bloom, attire from Expedition Entity and We Are Paranormal, and much, much more. Join the fun July 1st at Broadhead Manor from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Bring the whole family. There will be face painting and games for the kids. Vendors, psychics, food, and music and karaoke by Boogie Nights for the adults. Broadhead Manor, where numerous spirits call home, located in Broadhead, Wisconsin. For more information, find them on Facebook.
Hey everyone, that was actually almost the perfect commercial since I was talking about paranormal tourism. That location is on my list and I need to get up there and see that place. I've heard amazing things coming out of there. And Lee, your comment made me laugh during the chat because I think you were watching the day I was talking about how some paranormal groups act as a cult. So that comment was perfect. She's like, join a cult, that'll be fun. She's like, not. But yeah, so make sure, I'm trying to think, it was a couple weeks ago. I'll have to pull that link and share that one with you guys. But yes, everybody, thank you for joining the show. I'm super excited to have today's guest. He's been on before and looking forward to catching up with him because he's had a lot of amazing things happen recently. And get your questions ready because if you guys have those questions about demons and demonology and exorcisms and all of that stuff that I kind of look like a deer in headlights when you ask me, this is the time to ask it because he's probably going to know it. So let's welcome Father Kenneth Torres to the show.
Hey, Dr. Heather, good morning. Doing all right. How are you doing?
Good.
I was so nervous coming on these shows. First things first, okay?
Yep.
Demons are not real, okay? They don't exist. Okay?
Exactly.
Just joking. There's a lot of questions about the demons, and I'll do the very best that I can to answer. I don't sugarcoat things. I've never been one to appease the masses, and that's why I'm not very famous amongst other Facebook clergy.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I always laugh and joke because people will ask me, and I'll just have that deer in the headlight looks, and it's like I can give you the pagan answer.
Yeah.
on how to get rid of it, but I can't tell you.
It's like demons are subjective. There's like over 3,000 religions in the world, and demonology is it's mostly attributed based to the Abrahamic belief systems. Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism. We have other religions around the world that may believe in demons, but for all intents and purposes, I kind of know more a little bit about the Christianic demons. So, not an expert though, not a demonologist. So,
You're not.
Right, no, right? And that's the thing. Yes, as an exorcist, you do get trained in some courses on basic demonology. And those courses help you understand the characteristics of, these demonic entities, so to speak, what their attributes are, what their history, where they've come up throughout history and society. But the truth is, there's legions of demons, and we don't know all of them.
Yep. And just as it's like whack-a-mole. When you knock one down, the new one pops up.
Yeah. So how the heck have you been?
I've been good. Busy. Busy.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've been a little busy too. I
I've
just
noticed.
I was working on a project. I just released a project, a little educational book.
Mhm.
So I'm excited. I'm excited for it. It is a lot. It is really. I commend you, darn it,
Mhm.
because I have your book, right, the Haunted Nevada, right, and I'm
Yep.
like,
And your other one's going in the mail today.
appreciate it. And I'm like, how does she get so many pages done? I struggled to get 66 pages in an educational book. It was the hardest thing I've done. I've been working on it since November of last year,
Mhm.
and I finished in February. And then I was proofreading it. I sent it out to some other friends and some other colleagues, get some proofreading done, and also I published the
Mhm.
book. So it's hard.
Yeah, it takes a while. I mean, I know with my Lighthouse book, I struggled to meet the word count because that was during my knee surgery that
Oh,
I wrote
oh,
that one. So I wasn't going to the locations. I was relying on phone calls and emails to get a lot of the information from that. So, but the
yeah,
other books, it's based off of places I've been and experienced,
yeah.
and it
Yeah.
flows. So once you get the hang of it, it'll all start flowing.
Yeah. It's interesting because I find that once you get yourself into that flow and that methodology, you're like, all right, cool. If I can just set 2 hours a day, 2 to 3 hours a day, and get this project done. And a lot of it was mostly just like researching and
Mhm.
confirming, some accuracies, making sure that everything was, because the book that I wrote, Introduction to Demonology, Introduction to the Demonic Education, is basically it is a religious-based introduction on demonology and the demonic. It's not so much demonology.
Mhm.
I talk about the concepts of mental health, curses, rituals, what to look out for, the dangers of messing with the occults, the dangers of messing with Ouija boards, witchcraft, but not witchcraft in the sense that's offensive. And
Right.
something that you had mentioned earlier, the problem that we have is that there's all these wonderful belief systems around the world, and we have people that are interested in learning these things, but sometimes they may not have the best intention, or
Right.
sometimes they may have ill intentions. So when and that's the thing, right? When people say, "Well, I'm a witch, I practice witchcraft," people are like, "Oh no, you're going to hell." No, no. You know,
I hear it daily.
paganism has been around a lot longer than
Right.
Christianity itself. And these are like nature-based religions. And I have a lot of wonderful friends, such as yourself, that are wonderful individuals who couldn't even harm a fly. And for people to even suggest that, oh well, they're evil, come on, man. It's The Craft, all of those other movies make it seem like it's something so negative. But the truth is, with that though, there's always a danger to there's always a danger in getting repercussions when you don't understand something.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. And I always tell people, like, one of the cases that we did back in Vegas was with a young girl who was dabbling in witchcraft and she didn't know what she was doing.
yeah,
And I even, after we investigated, I told the mom, I'm like, the daughter was 16. I go, she's interested. I can help guide her and teach her how to do it right. And so I tell people, if you're going to dabble in something you don't know, get a mentor first,
yeah, yeah,
learn the right way.
yeah. So and that's what concerns me when I hear people say that they're studying demonology, because
Mhm.
you and I both know that there's a difference between studying and there's a difference between practicing. And so we have a lot of individuals among social media who practice, certain rituals, and they've got extensive experience doing this.
Mhm.
And then you have these other individuals who are fairly new to these paths, these different walks of life, and they start reading it, and then all of a sudden they get a little curious, and all of a sudden, you and I, we both get phone calls. Father, Heather, I think I did something I wasn't supposed to. I was trying to do this summoning ritual. I didn't ground myself. I didn't use the proper, materials for it. So then that's when
Mhm.
you come in.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, I tell people too, I mean, one thing is, whether you're using a Ouija board or, some type of, manifesting spell, or even just praying, I always tell people, when you pray, your intentions are there, but you
Yes,
don't know if you're getting responses from God or a different type of spirit. So you need
that's
to
true.
just be as careful when you're, following the Catholic practices.
Yeah, well, I mean, even in Christianity, there's, you said it, you can have the best intentions,
Hmm.
but you may not know what you're communicating with. And a lot of that is just lack of judgment. A lot of that is lack of knowledge. In this field, in our faith,
Hmm.
we call that discernment, the
Right.
spirit of discernment, which is a fruitful gift. I guess, that would be considered maybe some sort of intuitive gift on the other parallel. But you've got to be really cautious and be really careful to understand, when you're putting these intentions and these manifestations out there, and what you're receiving back, is it really truly something good, or is it something that's malevolent? More than likely, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get a demon. You're not going to get something that's going to want to possess you and make you crawl up the wall backwards, like a case that I've worked on. But, and it happens, so these are rarities. These are extreme cases. You're more than likely going to get Uncle John, who was kind of mad, or who was a prankster, and he's just coming back to mess with you a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Lee wants to know, would a jinn listen to a Catholic priest? She's thinking that yes, because they recognize the same authority that you have from God, the Creator.
So that's a question. That's a twofold answer. In a sense, yes, they would probably listen to me because of the authority that I have been given from God. But at the same time, too, we have to realize that magic, demonology, demons, these types of things, they're manifested based on their own traditions. So if there is a jinn that doesn't understand or know who God or Jesus is, they may more than likely be like, I don't need to listen to you because I only believe in Allah. But I'd like to think that with the spiritual authority, yes. And then we have to be careful with jinn too, because there's a really bad stigma with jinn. In Islam, the jinn is a neutral deity. It's neither good or bad. And so we have to be really careful, because jinn, yes, it may mean demon, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a demonic entity, infernal being from hell. It's just how it's labeled. So we have to be really careful when we tread, with words like that, like jinn. I often think that when people hear the word jinn, they attribute it to the scary movies that we've seen, like Wishmaster, which is a really darn good scary movie. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to get a jinn. And so, yeah, they'll listen to me. And just all depends on your spiritual authority as well. The biggest thing is with our faith is you have to have some sort of spiritual authority, when it comes to anything. Just like you, Heather, have to have some sort of physical authority, spiritual authority, when you're working your craft, when you're working with your intentions, when you're binding spirits, when you're binding energies. There has to be some sort of supernatural authority that has to display and emanate from you. And these energies, they know whether or not you've got what it takes.
Oh yeah, that's why, of course, and and a lot of people watching have been regulars, know that when we help someone, we send in at least one person who is of their faith or knows their faith.
Yes,
to help.
That's vital. It's important.
Yeah,
it's important. So the dogma, the stigma is that I, as a Catholic priest, can go to any place in the world and exorcise any demon from all religions. That's probably not the case. We would be arrogant to think that. But the truth is, there are so many different elements. There's so many different things from around the world, so many different ancient belief systems that not a lot of these places identify with Christianity. So to be pompous and arrogant, to say, I can go in any place, I can go in any religion, to any religion and say, well, demon be gone. Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. I'm probably going to get rocked, because I'm coming there with cockiness. I'm coming there with arrogance. Instead of listening, learning, and being humble about the process. And that's the problem that I have with a lot of these fake book clergies. I see them a lot. I'm pretty sure they're great individuals, but they have this personification that, I'm the last Coca-Cola in the desert, so to speak. And they make it seem like nothing could ever happen to them. And then, oh my gosh, I've done 1,000 exorcisms. Great for you. They probably weren't real exorcisms, or you're probably misdiagnosing mental illness for what you think is mental illness. And so I don't know what topics you had today, but I wanted to get some things off of my chest today.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I only have a topic to start the show off, to waste the first 30 minutes and babble and bore my audience. And then I leave it open to whoever's a guest.
So, there's a lot of clergy out there that are really good people. I'm friends with them. And this is not anything towards them. We have to be really careful when we encounter a lot of these clergy on Facebook, who give the idea that they've been involved in over 3,000 exorcisms. That's probably not the case, because what they're not taking into consideration, if you are saying that you've done 2,000 to 3,000 exorcisms, okay, in the span of your career, which has only lasted 4 years, that's a problem. Father Gabriel Amorth, one of the Vatican's leading exorcists, who actually taught my mentor. I learned from somebody who was trained under Father Gabriel Amorth. Even Father Gabriel Amorth, during his 40, 50 years, maybe probably hit 1,000 possession cases, so to speak. But there are people out there who are saying they've done 20, 25,000 exorcisms. And, be really careful with those people, because they're not equating the human factor into these cases. There are a lot of people who would be quick to say, well, it's a demon. You have to take mental health into consideration. You have to take trauma into consideration, which is why it's important for clergy like Dr. Heather, myself. We have some formal training. We have formal education. We've gone through school. We've worked this field, and we have a pretty good understanding of when somebody is BSing and pulling your leg. So be careful with those Facebook clergy that say that they've done over 50 million exorcisms. They probably haven't. And the moment they encounter a real demonic case, they're probably going to poop their pants.
Yeah, I remember when we first started Ghost Education 101, I can't remember who it was that was on the show, but we were doing a panel discussion. And one of the clergy on the show says he does 200 to 300 a year.
Wow, that's
and I'm
a
like,
lot.
That's one a day.
That's literally one a day. That's dangerous.
How do you research it? You don't have any time to research it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, so you know what? My schedule is booked today. And I've come across those people where like, hey, Father Ken, I need your advice. Okay, yeah, what's going on? I've got 10 exorcisms lined up for this morning. Oh, this morning? I mean, it's just like a...
They're just lined up out the door.
It's like line. It's like a exorcism drive-through. Like, what do? You know what I mean? Communion wafers and holy water, right? Right. And I'm like, okay, well, so what do you got going on? Have you done a physical evaluation? Have you done a mental evaluation? Have you spent time with the family? Have you been to their home? Do you understand what the underlying conditions are? What is leading you to believe that this is demonic? Well, it's because they have a headache, and in some Protestant belief systems, a headache is a demon, or it could just probably be a headache, or this person's got the spirit of cancer, and I've got to go pray the demon away. Oh, okay. Did you look at their medical records? Did you see that they maybe have a genetic history that's within their family? Maybe there's something within their genomes. Yes, because it's a generational curse. Okay, buddy. So tell you what, I'm probably not the guy to help you out. I wish you the best of luck. So I've gotten a couple of phone calls from people that are like, yeah, Father Ken, I had this one guy come out, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Who's their name? Oh, okay. And I say, okay, well, I'm pretty sure they had really good intentions. I'll never badmouth anybody else. That's not my thing. So, that it is unethical for me to badmouth. I see the intention there. Okay. But what I will do is I will talk to the individual on the side and say, hey, I've got this case. Apparently it was yours. What happened? What went wrong? Why weren't you able to successfully exorcise those demons? Well, Padre, you probably were right. I went ahead and jumped the gun and said it was demonic, and now I've built a false narrative around this case, and the client is really stressed, and I can't bring them down, so I refer them to you. Thank you. So, oh, geez, I just wanted to get that off my chest.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's fine. And that's that. When you were talking, it reminded me of like, I'll get calls from people out in Vegas, even still to this day, about a client or a couple different clients. And they're like, hey, we've heard you've helped this client before. Why weren't you able to finish helping them? Almost like they're accusing me. I'm like, well, first of all, they refused to go to the doctor. They refused to do what I asked them to do. And they weren't cooperative.
Yeah.
And
that's always an issue, right? That's the conundrum right there. It's like, how dare you accuse me of not doing my job? I'm doing it thoroughly, and the truth is we do have a lot of people that don't follow through. Sometimes people just want that answer. So I've gotten phone calls where like, hey, Father Ken, because I run the Solomonic Order of St. Michael the Archangel, as well as being a part of the foundation. And our job in the Solomonic Order of St. Michael the Archangel is just ministry.
Mm-hmm.
We're not exorcists, right? We don't put that out there, okay?
Right.
We are people who actually live ministry. You know, I have Mother Superior Talia and Deacon Ron Stokes and
She's been
Deacon
in the
Neil
comments.
Emerson. Yes. You know, we live ministry. You know, none of my clergy are going out there performing. They're not allowed to. They're not authorized to. We actually live a life of ministry. Like my life, my job is chaplaincy. I wake up every morning. I get a lot of chaplaincy phone calls. I do a lot of pastoral counseling. That's what I do. Exorcism is the very last thing on my mind. And I tell people too, you know, just because you're requesting an exorcism doesn't mean that's going to happen. You know, I'm going to put you to the ringer, you know. So the standards that I have, I follow a Vatican standard. I've got 2 or 3 priests who are still with the Holy See. And we talk all the time. And it's like, hey, you know, I got some questions. You know what? Probably nothing. You know what I mean? But, you know, you have to be thorough. You have to be meticulous in these types of things, because you are messing with people's lives. You are putting people's lives in danger. And the honest part about it is that most people don't realize that when they talk people up and say that it's demonic possession or whatever, you are doing a number physically and psychologically on that individual. I had a case where it was years ago. It was starting off. I had just received my ordination about 3 years ago. I've been involved in ministry on the Protestant side for a few years, but I was already going through seminary school, and so I knew about these things. And so we were working with someone who believed that they were possessed. They weren't. Someone told them that they were possessed, and we were giving them pastoral counseling. A few weeks later, we received a phone call that person committed suicide from a family member, because that other clergy had told them that they were infested by 100,000 legions of demons. And so this person committed suicide. And that clergy, I don't know where they're at, but I will honestly say that if I see them, I will probably take off my collar and we'll talk in the back alley, have a conversation one-on-one.
A polite conversation.
Just a polite conversation. That's all, that's all. Hey, buddy, and for me, this work is important. For me, this work is about helping individuals. It's not about exorcising demons. It's not about that stuff. It's about getting face to face with the individual and being able to talk to them and understand what their needs are and being able to help them in any way possible. Honestly, it would be better if it was a psychological illness. It'd be better if it was a physical illness, because we have an individual now that has been going through life probably the past 4 or 5 years that has an untreated mental diagnosis, an untreated physical illness, that because of us, we're able to say, you know what, now you can get the treatment that you need. These are the natural solutions. This is why you're experiencing these things, because you have a legitimate mental and physical illness, not some supernatural ideology that you're being possessed and you're being ravaged by legions of demons because you are believed to have the spirit of stomach aches. Come on now. That's childish.
No. And what people also don't need, and this is where I wish the medical field would be more descriptive on what side effects some of their medications they prescribe can cause. Because we had a client that she kept saying she was being sexually touched by the spirit that was in her home. And, we investigated twice, no evidence whatsoever in her home, no strange feelings. We cleansed it to try to make her feel happy about it and try to change her state of mind. But then the more we deep dove into her medications, she was very anemic. And not only between the anemia and the medications she was on, the side effects are tactile hallucinations. So you feel like, ants are crawling on your skin or you're being touched.
Yeah, so I think you were with us too. We had a case like that in the foundation, a case out in Texas. We've been working with this woman for several years now, who was being afflicted allegedly by these supernatural entities. And she, even to the point where she made her family believe the same thing. There was no concrete evidence. And we worked with them. We worked with her until we found out that she was actually diagnosed triple schizophrenic. And so we did a welfare check on her, and, we had the police, do a welfare check on her, and, they took her to a safe place because she was having an episode. And I'm very glad that, she was able to get the help that she needed. Every once in a while, that client will pop back around, but we know who it is. They'll try to change her name. and we have to sympathize with them. We know that they have a mental illness. And so people, compassion in this field is one thing that you need to have, but you can't be ignorant. For me, working in the paranormal field, it's been a blessing. You're able to grow a lot, but at the same time too, you have to be mature about this. I often tell people that, investigating haunted locations is a little different than doing residentials. Investigating haunted locations, I think, is a wonderful thing. It allows you to learn how to use your equipment better. It allows you to understand the do's and don'ts. With the paranormal tourism, I'm not too fond of it, but if done correctly, it can be a wonderful experience. But at the same time, there's a two-edged sword to that. Just because you know how to work a haunted location and you know how to use your equipment doesn't necessarily mean that you're able to work a residential case, because you don't have those sociable, personable skills that are required to delegate each specific task.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up too, because last night I was on an interview with Todd Wayne, I think was his name. Paranormally is the podcast. And we were actually talking about what's needed in the field, and we brought up the idea of people going into residentials, that maybe it might be time in the future that the government has to step in and certify people, kind of like your bug, exterminator. Because you don't know who you're inviting into your home. You don't know if they're trained properly. You don't know if they know what they're doing. And then you have the ones that'll take any paranormal case just to get the experience.
Which the eagerness, it's okay. It's admirable, so to speak. The eagerness is admirable, but we have to be very cautious when we allow people into our homes that have no experience. The intentions might be good, but are they doing more good than bad? It's one of those things where you have to outweigh the pros and the cons.
Yeah, I don't know how many cases I've been doing, and even with the foundation, they call and they've worked with a paranormal team or two, and they would come in, do the investigation, and then ghost them. Like never return, never share evidence, never say what they experienced. They just, let the client hang there.
And the client is in a time of desperation, and they're really banking on you to help them out. And I've had these conversations on road trips with Joe Frankie. I love Joe Frankie. And I hope he gets better. He's at home resting right now. Not my business, but I'm just praying for his recovery. We've had these conversations. It's like the difference between like you and I, Heather, and the foundation, and some other teams. There are other great teams out there that are not necessarily part of the foundation. They're wonderful teams. So we go in and we get the evidence, right, or whatever it is that we need to get, but we also provide a solution. That's the difference between, some teams. Some teams, they go in, they like to collect data, they like to collect evidence. Okay, it's confirmed. You have a poltergeist activity, or it's confirmed, you have a simple haunting, or, you have whatever, a residual haunting happening. Okay, what do? We don't know, actually, but let's Google it real quick, and then I'll get back to you.
And that's when they're Googling our video shows and our blog posts. And you mentioned that's important. A lot of these teams don't know the difference between a residual and an intelligent haunt. And, you treat each different type of haunting differently. I mean, residual haunt, the most you can tell people is to ignore it. It's, it's not going to harm you. It's just residual energy. It's amazing.
It's like a reference to the show. Like it's like a ghost loop, so to speak. It's just time repeating itself. They're on a different plane. They can't communicate with you. You can't communicate with them. You can see them. They probably don't know that they're gone. There's nothing there. It's a barrier. They're just going through life. And as well as an intelligent haunting is, they know that they're gone. They know that they're deceased. Sometimes they're stubborn and they don't want to leave, or sometimes they are just so in love with their home that they want to make sure that those people that are living there, like, this is my home, okay? I need you to take care of it. You need to water the garden. You need to fix the plumbing, make sure the electrical is up to code. Some spirits are like that. They're possessive, so to speak, and they're not willing to let go until you come in, with someone who's intuitive, or someone who's got these wonderful abilities to say, hey, look, your home is in good hands. Feel free to cross over. There's nothing happening here. You're fine. Your place is fine. And if you don't want to cross over, then we just set some boundaries. Simple as that.
Yep, exactly. And one thing I actually wanted to bring up to you, because I always find it interesting, whenever a client reaches out, the first words out of their mouth is, I have a demon. My
Yes.
response to that is usually chances are no, because you might not, if you are possessed, you're not going to really know it.
That's true. So if you are possessed, more than likely you are not going to reach out and say that you are possessed. There are circumstances where an individual may feel like they're afflicted and something's happening. They don't quite understand what's going on with them. They're foggy, they're hazy, they're getting all these dreams, and there might be some indications of possession. But generally, a possession consult comes on the side of a family member that's witnessed certain things. Well, I've witnessed my daughter levitating. I've witnessed my daughter, speaking in different languages. I've witnessed things disappear and reappear. Okay, well, then that might indicate that there is truly some sort of supernatural activity. But we also, with that, we've got to be really careful too, because there are cases in which it can present itself where it may not be a demon. It could be a person that is presented and that is destined for sainthood and touched by God. And so you have these supernatural things happening like levitation and stigmata. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative. It's scary because you don't know what you're dealing with. But there are these rare circumstances like Saint Padre Pio, suffered stigmata, battled with the devil, for so many years. A lot of supernatural things happened. No way a priest is going to be possessed, and a good priest will never, ever get possessed. Popular to contrary beliefs, popular to the movies, like the Pope's Exorcist, where, Father Amorth got possessed. That's never happened. Father Amorth will have never gotten possessed. There comes a spiritual authority. But yeah, going back to what I was saying is we just have to be really careful too, because sometimes it may not be demonic. Sometimes it can just be a person that is getting a gift from God, so to speak, the creator, and is destined for sainthood, and they are just experiencing those things. And so how do we deal with a person who's being destined with sainthood? So we talk to them, we counsel them, we tell them to go to church, we get them connected with a local priest, someone local nearby, to help them understand this phenomenon. But at the same time too, we also want to make sure that we do get them the proper mental and physical evaluation, because these things that are happening to you can have a toll on you psychologically and physically. So no matter what the premise is, no matter what the start is, no matter what the origin is, we're always going to require a physical and psychological evaluation. No ifs and buts. And clergy, if you are listening, and if you are going out there and you are not requiring a physical and a psychological evaluation, I would urge you to reconsider your options. And I'll leave it at that.
Yep. And one thing that came to mind is I know, because we do all the the psychological backgrounds and the medical backgrounds. And, when someone calls us and says, I need, a priest immediately for an exorcism, we don't go the next day. What do you suggest people who think that they're being affected by demonic entities do to protect themselves and give them peace of mind until help can come?
First of all, I would rely on your faith. Go back to what your original faith is. And if you don't have faith, then it's probably time to start getting some sort of faith. And that's the truth. We don't believe in God until something happens, and we're like, oh crap, God, where are you at? So the truth is, you have to go back to your faith, what your original faith is. I would start reading, I would start praying the Bible, I would start going to confession, start going to mass. And if you're not Catholic, that's fine. Go to a local church. There's a lot of wonderful non-denominational churches that are out there. You go to a church service, pray, receive the communion, and start strengthening your faith, which is the most important thing. Because if you really truly are dealing with something that is diabolical in that sense, the first important thing is that you have to have faith. I, as a clergyman myself, I have to put myself in a state of grace. So that means for me that I will abstain from sexual activities. I will abstain from drinking. I will abstain from things that are not conducive to my physical and spiritual health. I would pray. I would fast. I would read the Bible. And these are things that I would ask for atonement of God and His holy presence and His Spirit to fill me and to keep me safe. And that's how you start the process. That's what you need to do. It's really as simple as that. Because honestly, you can't fight something if you don't believe in what you're fighting in. So it kills me that there are people that are like, well, I don't believe in demons, but yet you believe in tarot cards, you believe in crystals. So you have, and this is nothing negative. I'm not dismissing those beliefs. What I'm saying is that if you believe in something as inanimate as a crystal, and you give it that intention and that wonderful power behind it, then there is obviously a higher being connected. You reach out to those higher beings. And if you're not of the Christian faith, okay, then you go back to what you believe in. So if you're pagan, if you're Wiccan, go back to what your faith is and what your faith instructs you to do when you're dealing with these demonic entities. Although it is my understanding, and studying through seminary, and most people who are pagan and who are Wiccan may not necessarily believe that it's a demonic entity. So let's take the word demonic out and let's just say negative energy. That actually makes it less scary. So let's go down to negative energy. You have full control. You have full control over your life and what your thought process is. That is called self-possession. Self-possession is the idea that you are in control. You have the power to control your feelings and your emotions. All right. And a lot of people seem to forget this, but it's as simple. Self-possession is a wonderful tool. It is a wonderful gift. You have to be confident. You have to believe in what you're saying. You have to be truthful and honest with yourself and say, you know what? I am exuberating positive. I am emanating excellence. I am happy. You got to be positive about these things.
Yep. Yeah. And it's funny because I use self-possession on a lot of my lectures, including when I lecture network marketing. I use the power of self-possession for them to, improve their business. So it's amazing how that works in so many aspects of our life.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I guess maybe like self-manifestation, so to speak. I guess that would be self-manifesting. You're self-manifesting positive energy. You're self-manifesting the good. And it's really as simple as that. The demonic rarely often presents itself. More than likely, you're going to encounter Uncle Tom, who was a jerk in life and now is a jerk after death. He's just mad because you're not watering his garden. Or you're eating all his
garden with a pool.
Yeah, it's funny, like there was a question that came up the other day. Someone had posted, if you are a ghost, what would you do to come back and haunt people? I would, and this, if I was a ghost, I'd be a jerk of a ghost. I'd steal everybody's sock and I'd steal everyone's socks and I would put it in the freezer, color code them by material. Because let me tell you something, an organized ghost, because let me tell you something, I don't care who you are. Socks are important, okay? And if you want to work and you can't find any of your socks, that's worse. Nonetheless, wet socks are the worst thing. I would probably do that too if I was a ghost. I'd probably wet your socks first, put them all in a pile.
I can't remember the last time I wore socks.
Well, you're in Florida now.
I have a whole drawer full, but I can't remember the last time I wore them.
Yeah, my closet, I have an organizer in my closet and like 6 of them from Target. Cubbies, and they're all nothing but socks.
I know my mom always sends me her socks, and because we don't wear them that often, they don't wear out. So I've had socks for years.
Yeah, no, I mean that's I live in the Bay Area, so we kind of have to wear socks out here. So that's the initial principle. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to get at is that more than likely it's just a malevolent spirit or someone trying to be a jerk. You're more than likely not going to encounter anything demonic. There's a lot of misconceptions on television and a lot of these paranormal shows, which are really good. Recent show that just came out, Legion of Exorcists. I think it's done really well. You know what I mean? It gives you an idea of what as clergymen we go through. But at the same time, these are combined collectives of different cases. They're not out there. Clergy, we're not out there every day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, battling the demonic. Right. I think there's a stigma out there that when we wake up, we're out there looking for demons. I'm definitely not a demon hunter. I'm not looking for anything. I'm just going to live my life, and when the case presents itself, then we will handle it accordingly. But I want people to understand and realize that also too, not every priest is an exorcist, right? Not every priest is an exorcist. It is a specialized vocation. As a matter of fact, in the canon law, a key porter is above an exorcist, in the canon law. So that goes to show, the keys to the church play a more important role than the exorcist, because it really often happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, priests can go and they can bless a home. That's part of the traditions. That's what we learn in seminary school. That's part of the catechism of what we know. But not every priest is an exorcist. And there are a lot of people who have this idea that think, oh, every priest is an exorcist. No,
Right.
just like every other priest, is a human being, right? We're humans. And to sit here and say that I'm not afraid or I'm not nervous is a fallacy. Obviously, as a human being, I'm going to get afraid. You know what I mean? But I rely on my faith. It's important to realize and humanize the work that we do. So often times there are people that think, well, you're a priest and you're never afraid. Well, I may not show it, but my faith, leads me to believe otherwise. But of course, the human side of me is going to be like, wow, the first case that I worked with Chris, we had an exorcism case with a young girl that was overseas who was messing with the occult, desecrating graves, having sex on graves, performing satanic rituals. I mean, real satanic rituals, not Church of Satan members, but real satanic rituals. People, there is a difference between people who are the member of the Church of Satan and satanic rituals. Okay,
Yep.
People who practice real Satanism. Okay, I'm really good friends with people who belong to the Church of Satan. The gentleman psychic, Richard Leigh, wonderful individual. He has different ideologies. I don't believe in them, but you know what? I love the guy. I love people for who they are and what they practice. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you, but there's a difference. Anyway, desecrating graves, performing ritualistic things, dabbling with the occult, which the occult in itself can have a negative stigma. The occult is just basically things in dark that haven't came out to light, non-Christian belief systems, so to speak. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are evil. They are just misunderstood. But at the same time, you are dabbling with forces that are older than creation itself. So be really careful. Also, making pacts with demons. All right. So, in all honesty, if you are going to make a pact with the demon, don't expect the demon to hold up its end of the bargain. They never do. Demons do not hold up their end of the bargain. They never will. They're liars. They're deceivers. They just want you to give in to that torment that they're giving you. So, we've had cases where people come under subjugation. Subjugation is like, well, Father, that he was telling me that if I give in to this, that they're going to stop tormenting. Has it stopped? Obviously, because you're still calling me. No, I don't know why. But gee, you figure you made a contract with the devil or a demon, which contracts can be broken. Second, your soul belongs to you and your soul belongs to the Creator. Okay, He can never ever sell your soul to the devil. Never, never, never. You can try to, and there can be a really stronghold. There can be a really big stronghold on your soul, so to speak. But your soul ultimately still belongs to the Creator and to you. It will never belong to the devil. So when people say I've sold my soul to the devil, well, I guess in theory maybe you have, but I mean, in reality, the soul does not belong to the devil. It does not belong to El Shaitan. It belongs to the Creator. So just be careful when people tell you I've sold my soul to the devil. People think, oh, that's a catalyst. I can't do anything else. That's it. You're done. No, that's not true. That's a fallacy. Right. It's going to be hard as heck, to break those strongholds, to break those really strong spiritual chains, but it can be done.
Yeah. Frances asked a question. She wants to, how do you deal with a parent insisting they observe their child being possessed, but the child shows no evidence and has no experiences?
I would just say, how old is the child? What is it that they're going through? What behaviors are they displaying? Do they have a chemical imbalance? Are they neurodivergent? Do they have anger issues? Do they have depressive issues? Those things like that, we'd have to ask. Because quite often, too, possessed can be confused for people who are intuitive. People who have intuitive abilities can often project themselves to be some sort of possessed. And by that, I mean, things can happen around you. Things can levitate. A lot of activity can happen that is similar to what a demonic infestation could be. But we also have to make sure that that individual, that child, maybe is not an intuitive or manifesting poltergeist activity. And see, it's a rabbit hole. We can go many different ways with this. It's like, well, how do we know? Well, and that's why it's important to get these evaluations done. Amongst everything, evaluations, I believe, are the very first thing that need to be done, because a physical and mental evaluation, honestly, can give you a good basis and a good understanding of the individual psyche, and then you can go from there. It's a wonderful tool to have your clients get evaluations done. I'm all for it. For me, there's no exceptions. There's no ifs and buts. Granted, there are some circumstances where a mental evaluation may not be required right away. You walk in and you see the person crawling up the wall, those types of things. Okay, yeah, we're dealing with something here.
Mm-hmm.
But when they come down and they snap out of that possessive state, we still want to make sure that they get treated by a doctor and by a psychologist, because it is still a traumatic event. So no matter what spectrum you're at, no matter what you do, some sort of evaluation must be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you disagree with me, Heather, but I mean, that's how I feel.
No, completely agree. And it's one of those things where we've never walked into a case until we've requested that to be done.
Yeah.
And, and it's tough. We've actually had a lot of cases that we ended up not doing anything with because they either refused to, or, couldn't see the reasoning why, or, X, Y, and Z team said we didn't need it, so we're going to go with them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The excuses too. Well, I've already done, what the other team has told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Great. You've done what the other team has told you to, but are you doing it out of habit, or are you really believing in what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, Dr. Heather, people are just like, what did you just say? Are you saying it just to say it, my man?
Right.
Do you believe what you're saying? Do you have faith in what you're saying, my dude?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Layman's terms, padre, street talk, right? Oh, no. Well, you kind of have to believe in what you're saying, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise it's not going to work. It's like, if you're manifesting good out there and positivity into the world, and you're making self-affirmations that I want to be rich, I want to be a millionaire. Okay, cool. I'm not a millionaire, Padre. Why? Because you didn't believe in what you were saying and you didn't act upon it, right? Things don't come as easy as we want them to, right? You actually have to put in some work, which is why I often laugh. People are like, well, people have faith confused, right? Having faith is a wonderful thing, but faith also prepares you for the harsh reality that sometimes the answer is going to be no. But faith also requires you to act upon it. So, for example, in my faith, if I want God to bless me with a new job, right? Boom. God, you're going to give me a new job. Perfect. Okay, cool. Padre, I put in this petition 2 months ago. God is failing me. He hasn't given me a job yet. I go, well, have you put in any resumes? Have you applied for jobs? And they're like, what? No. I go, no, that's kind of how faith is. You believe in what you're saying, but you kind of have to put in some work, my man.
If only it worked like that. Geez.
I know, right?
One case that we did have in Vegas, we, even though it wasn't demonic in our opinion, the client was insisting it was still, even after investigations and all the behind the scenes stuff was done. And we had suggested to her to return to her church and ask to get rebaptized. And the church actually told her that because she was baptized as a child, she was baptized for life. What are your thoughts on that? And they refused to rebaptize her.
So I agree with the church. I agree that once you are baptized, you do not need to get baptized. But, for me, it's a little different because I don't operate I'm not under the Holy See. We are an independent Catholic order. We follow the Vatican I rules. And so, my whole thing is if the church doesn't want to baptize you, then I would find another church and just get rebaptized. But the truth is, once you're already baptized, you've received confirmation, Eucharist, First Communion, and you're baptized, then you're good for life. You just have to act on your faith. And what's the intention? What was the intention of getting rebaptized? Was it going to do something different? Who knows? I mean, it's a case-by-case scenario. I'm in agreement that, once you're baptized, you don't need to get rebaptized. But for me, though, I always want to make sure that I take care of my clients. And if they want to get rebaptized, I'll do it for them. No problem. I'll do it for you. It's not an issue. But, why are you getting rebaptized?
Right.
Is your faith struggling? Are you wanting to get baptized because you're baptized as a child and you're having trouble with your faith? Rebaptizing you is not going to renew your faith. Renewing your faith comes with personal work. You have to go and you have to read scripture, you have to study, you have to pray, you have to find the good in life. And so, it's just a case by case scenario.
Yeah, we were hoping it would give her the foundation again to rebuild her faith, because she believed, but she didn't. And we think she was self-manifesting a lot of stuff. And we're just kind of hoping, I guess, that it would maybe act as a Band-Aid to help her healing process.
For me, I think that's a good thing. Like I would have not had any problem rebaptizing them. I would have done it, just for safety protocol. For me, as a pastoral counselor, I advise people on their spiritual path, and at the same time too, you have to be open, to what their needs are. And on a psychological level, I'm not a licensed psychologist. I'm just a pastoral counselor with the American Association of Christian Counselors. What I would do is I would still rebaptize them, because at the same time, if that's going to help their psyche, then I'm going to do it, because we want to make sure that we do what's best for them. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if they wanted to get rebaptized, I would have rebaptized them, because I know the impact that's going to have on them psychologically and spiritually.
Exactly. And one question that comes up, and you're probably tired of answering this, but what are the stages of possession, and how do you know if you or someone in your family is starting to show signs of it?
So like oppression, manifestation, infestation, and possession. So like infestation is there's like subtle activity happening around you, things exploding, sulfuric smell. It's like an energy. It's like it's like a dread in the home. You don't even want to go home, and it's not attributed to like you not wanting to come home to your family, your partner, but it's just there's like this dread there that it's like I don't want to be there. Things are happening. I'm having really bad dreams. The manifestation is when it starts showing itself. Right now, you start seeing shadows, and there's like things that are happening on your body, right? And then the oppression stage. The oppression stage is when you are experiencing the infestation and the manifestation, and now this energy has a really strong hold on you. You can't eat, you can't sleep, everything tastes horrible. You're having vivid hallucinage dreams that you're hallucinating in. It's just an overall depressive mental state of mind. You don't want to live, you don't want to breathe. And then it comes the possession part, when you are fully taken over by the entity. The possession part can be rare. What's not rare is the oppression part. You're more than likely to deal with a case that has infestation, or a person being oppressed by a negative energy, so to speak. And and that can be a fix. And a lot of that just requires treatment, counseling, positive affirmations, blessing the home, cleansing the home, making sure that they are walking fine in a spiritual path. And then the possession part, that's the extreme case where you have to actually do the rite of exorcism, which I'm going to be clear, only trained clergy can perform the ritual of exorcism. There are a lot of people out there who have really good intentions, and they want to help people, right? And they are self-proclaimed exorcists. I'm not judging them, but I would advise you to use caution, because you have to have a spiritual authority. These energies know if you have a spiritual authority, right? These energies know if you have that power behind you, okay? Because if you don't, and you try to exorcise a real, legitimate demon, you yourself can actually become possessed or hurt everyone else around you. It can kill you, and you can also that can also kill the afflicted. So there's a lot of self-proclaimed exorcists out there who have no formal training. They say, well, I've been called by God. Okay, well, maybe you've been called by God, but you need to do some formal training. Exorcism is specific to the Catholic Church. Now, there's deliverance ministers. You want to call yourself a deliverance minister? That's fine. But even then, you have to be really careful that you're not feeding into the idea that there's a demon there when there really isn't, when it's just mental illness.
Right. And how does one know if someone is a true exorcist? Like,
it's hard. It's hard to say. You want to look at a person's credentials. You want to make sure that they've gone to seminary school. So, there is a wonderful movement. There's a lot of independent Catholic organizations out there, a lot of independent Catholic churches. I'm one of them myself. We are not under the Holy See, but we are recognized by them because we have apostolic tradition and we've gone through seminary school. And that's the thing. You want to make sure that a person who calls himself an exorcist has some sort of formal training, whether it's psychology, but more importantly, to become an exorcist, you have to have a faith-based system. And it's not just going to church for 5 years and reading the Bible and saying, well, no, you have to have some formal training, and then you have to train under people who are legitimate exorcists. Like Bishop Long is a wonderful exorcist. I admire him. I respect him. He's done a lot for this field. So people who train under him, I think they're getting some good training as well. There's Father Enright, who's been doing this since 1982. And he's also an independent archbishop, just like Bishop McKenna. Bishop McKenna, who helped out on the Warren cases, was an independent Catholic priest. He's separated from the Vatican because there's a lot of rules, and sometimes the Vatican prefers its rules over the real help. And so that's why, you just got to be really careful. So seminary school, and make sure that they've trained under someone who is an actual legitimate exorcist. I've had the privilege of training under somebody who trained under Father Gabriele Amorth. And so Father Gabriele Amorth was one of the leading exorcists for the Vatican. And there was a movie that just came out on him. So I am fortunate enough to have trained under someone who was able to train under him.
Yep. And one thing I hear a lot from people is they can't be a real exorcist if they don't go to the Vatican and get their training. Is that true, false?
So, all right. So the old etymology was that, the exorcists, there is an exorcist school that the Vatican hosts. And so, but what ends up happening is, in order to become an exorcist, you have to be chosen by your archbishop. And so through that, they plug you in with other legitimate exorcists. And sometimes there are exorcists who I've known who haven't gone through the exorcist training school, which is like 2 weeks long. It's actually field training. You study under exorcists. So the old etymology was, there is a school for exorcists. It's hard to get into. And even going to that school basically doesn't necessarily mean that you're an exorcist. It gives you an idea of what the job is like. And there are people who go to this class, priests, that once they finish the class, they go back to their archbishop and they're like, no, this is not for me. This is not for me. And, depending on who the archbishop is, like, no, you're kind of screwed. You're stuck with it. We need you. But, to be an exorcist, you have to have a contrite heart. You have to be a person that's always walking, in the light of Christ. You have to be humbled. You have to be loving. But a true exorcist has to be skeptic, real skeptic. It is my job as an exorcist to be skeptic beyond a reasonable doubt. I just can't sit here and say, it's possession. I have to be skeptic. That's why you have a demonic assessment team, and the demonic assessment team are individuals who are not necessarily diagnosing the actual demon itself. What they're doing is they are writing down the ideas, they are writing down the experiences, they are capturing and gathering evidence so that you can come to an analysis and a conclusion and say, well, maybe there might be something here. But as you and I both know, Heather, we can look at all these video evidence and we can find different variants of why this activity has happened. It doesn't always necessarily mean that it's demonic.
Right. Yep. People just like to jump to that term.
Yeah, it's a cool word. It's like, oh, I'm a demonologist. I'm an exorcist. You're probably not. So I try to be really cautious on how I say things. Like, yes, I am an exorcist, but I don't go publicizing that stuff. To me, that is a personal vocation, and no one needs to know. That's not something that needs to be publicized all over social media. The people who know me truly, they can go to our website and they can see that we do have a request for help if you believe that you are under possession. But I just, there's this whole coolness about being an exorcist and be like, well, except for me, I've got the nice black and white photo, but then you've got other people with the black and white photo holding the crucifix, exorcist extraordinaire. I studied on the Academy of YouTube. I can tell you exactly who and what is possessing the demon. No, you can't. You can't. So we just, it's a dangerous game to play, and I take it really seriously. And that's why it's hard for me to look at the camera, because I I'm thinking, because it is really dangerous. You are putting yourself at risk. You are putting people's lives and families at risk, when you're projecting this image as an exorcist. I come across many posts with people who I'm no longer associated with, and it's like, well, please pray for me. I'm going to go to this house and I'm going to do an exorcism. This is my 10th exorcism this month. Wow. Okay. And I go, hey buddy, what school did you go to? Oh, well, I studied under this guy, this Protestant minister. Oh, you studied under a Protestant minister and you're performing exorcism. Protestants, which basically are non-Catholics, or like Baptist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventists, they don't believe in full possession. So in order for you to say that you trained under a Protestant minister to call yourself an exorcist, you haven't. Because Protestants don't believe in exorcism. They believe in the fact that if Christ lives inside of you, then you cannot be possessed. It's an attachment, so to speak. It can be oppression, but never full possession. So if you have this alleged Catholic clergy who calls himself a deliverance minister with this whatever, just be really cautious. There's a lot of terms, fancy words that get thrown in there, and there's a lot of words that are used, to make people seem like they are from the Holy See, like they're from the Vatican, which they're not. Right. So I try to stay away from those individuals. I'm not very famous amongst them. I don't drink from the same tea that they do. I don't really share the same ideology as they do, because it's a dangerous game, and I keep people accountable. Like myself, I keep myself accountable. Heather, like if I've made a mistake, and we've had these conversations. If I've made a mistake, I've come out and say, hey, Heather, I made a mistake. I am sorry. Right. It's my fault. I'm always accountable for my actions, and I hold people to the same standard. And if you cannot hold yourself accountable, then I cannot work with you, especially when it comes to clergy.
Yeah. And it's sad, the ones that are claiming to be the top of the field, the exorcists, they haven't done the research to even know that they can't be an exorcist because they're studied under Protestant or something like that. You'd think they'd know that if they really did their homework.
Yeah, and it's not only that though. I mean, it's so much more than just being called an exorcist. You have to understand the spiritual appetites. You have to understand, the temptation, original sin. You have to understand ecclesiology and theology to understand what you're working with and what you're dealing with. So there's a whole facet of ministry that people are forgetting, especially a lot of these other clergy. They come in and say, well, I am clergy, but my specific job is exorcism. It shouldn't be. Your specific job should not be exorcism. Yeah. Yes, you can be called to do that. That is a job. Yeah. But more than likely, what you should be doing is you should be doing a lot of pastoral counseling. You should be talking to people, helping them strengthen their faith, helping them understand what these things are, helping them understand that if you don't have a good faith, that you can be subject to these attacks. So it's just much more than just calling yourself an exorcist. For me, life of ministry is a real life of ministry. I could care less about the exorcism ministry. I don't care to be known amongst the greats. I don't care. That's not what I care for. What I care about, and you can ask my clients, people who I've worked with, I am a person that I really love, genuinely talk to people. I help people with marital problems. I help people with issues, on depression and anxiety. I've got friends who are licensed medical professionals who come to me for advice, because I don't give them all this medical mumbo jumbo. I give them a true because I understand people. I give them a true understanding of what my faith should be like and how they should live their life, and say, okay, look, you know what, doc, this is what you're going through. All right, take yourself from being a doctor. You're not a doctor right now. Okay, you're a human being. Get these connotations out of your head. What is it that you're doing that's not making you happy? Yeah, you're so-and-so in this field, but are you truly being fruitful in your life? Are you enjoying the fruits of your labor? Are you having fun? Are you going to picnics? Are you surfing? Are you getting tattoos all over your body? Things like that. The humanistic side is what we need.
Right. Exactly. Well, we do need to take a quick commercial break. Are you able to stay for another 30 minutes until the end of the show, or do you have to get going?
Oh, no, I can stay.
Okay, perfect.
Rudy, brother? I love Rudy so much.
I was just going to say, I just saw Rudy pop in, and Stephanie also says hi. Yeah. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to finish up the show.
Yeah.
No matter the questions, Ellie Weisencell can help you find the answers. Ellie is a gifted intuitive and a natural energy healer, which she applies using the body code and emotion code healing systems, among others, to help you achieve balance for your best results. Are you looking for more clarity about which direction to follow with your life, health, or career? Let Ellie guide you. As a psychic, Ellie can provide clarity to the path you are on, so you may use your free will to change the direction of your life. Are you wanting to communicate with a loved one who's passed? As a certified psychic medium, Ellie Weisencell can connect you with your loved ones on the other side to facilitate healing or offer closure. To schedule your appointment with Ellie, look her up on Facebook at Ellie Weisencell Psychic Medium or email her at ellieweisensell@gmail.com. That's Ellie Weisencell, Weisensel.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Super excited. Great conversation today. I do have to say, though, I have some of the best viewers. Lee commented that you can't stay because you have 10 exorcisms to do by 2.
You know what? He's probably right. I just checked my calendar and I've got 20 so far. So,
and even though you guys know we poke fun at certain things, but this is a serious field, and we know the difference between when it's time to have fun and when it's time to strap on our boots and get serious. So, but you gotta have fun.
You gotta have fun. That's always been one of my things. I love humor. I always try to make my clients laugh, and even during case analysis, like even with the foundation, sometimes, if I can get a laugh in there from the client, that's the most important thing, to help them understand, what's going on. There's a lot of bad in this world. So if we can help people focus on the good, like that's the most important thing. There's just so many avenues and facets of life that, the paranormal is misunderstood, but if we can bring a light to it and help people understand that it's not all bad, it's not all ghosts, demons, and goblins, that's important.
Yeah, and that's why Joe and I started hosting the show on Thursday nights, because we pick on each other back and forth.
Yeah. I love Joe. I hope the anaconda feels better.
I know. I know he's not feeling good, but I gotta wrangle him in. It's like trying to get a hold of him to talk about the show, and it's like
right.
It's like, Joe, pick up your phone.
No, it's funny, right? Like, Joe, if you're listening, okay, answer your text messages. Like, I'll text him, and sometimes he won't answer, but he's on Facebook in the groups posting funny memes. I'm like, I just messaged you. You're gonna ignore me, man, but you're gonna post a funny meme.
Yeah, when I really need him, that's when I message his daughter and be like, "Hey, tell your dad I need him."
Well, I'll just Google his phone number. It's like, okay, I know where you live.
Oh, he just cracks me up sometimes.
I may try and stop by and see him this week if he'll allow it to. I'm heading out there this week. I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing an event on the USS Salem with Larissa, Alan Rex, Third Eye Productions, and Dave Childers. And we're going to be doing a homeless veterans charitable event. So it's going to be basically a paracon, an investigation on the USS Salem, and all of the proceeds are going to be donated to like the National Coalition of Homeless Veterans, which I love it. I support it as a veteran myself. That's one thing that I'll drop anything for veterans. Anything that has to do with veterans. I'm involved with a lot of veterans organization. So my life isn't just ministry on the religious side. My ministry also is like I golf. I serve, you know what I mean? I do all of these fun things in life that you should be doing. And I hope that, through those interactions with my other veterans, that they can see how I feel happy and how I'm fruitful with the life I've lived. And that's ministry right there. Being able to talk to people and say, hey, you know what? I've been where you've been, right? I know what it's like to go through the traumatic stress. I know what it's like to go through the depression. I know what it's like to suffer, from alcohol abuse. I know what it's like to feel lonely. I know what it's like to not feel appreciated and living, and wanting to take your life. I've been there, you know what I mean? Right. I've been there. So I can relate a lot to people. And not to toot my horn, I think that is what makes me a little bit different than some of the other clergy. A lot of wonderful clergy out there, don't get me wrong, wonderful people. But a lot of it is science. So you have a PhD and I have a doctorate, which is applied. Basically, I take your theories and I apply them in the field as an applied doctor.
Yep.
And that's what I feel like I do, with my ministry. I apply it to my everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I do have one question that I've been wanting to have the perfect person on the show to talk about. This is the Demon House, the case in Ohio that Zach Bagans had.
Oh,
what
okay.
are your thoughts on that? I don't know if you've seen the documentary or not, but
I actually have it. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been to Zach's museum. I think it's lovely. I think it's
Mhm.
wonderful. So I've been there, and I didn't have anything happen to me. There was one girl who, I'll just go into a quick story before I get to the demon house. I actually enjoyed it. It was really nice. I did get scared by the small guy that they always do. Grab that ticket, and you look in that closet. And I was like, oh, you got me there. It's a good feel. I like it. I didn't feel anything negative there. There was a young girl though who was from Australia, who was their skeptic. I don't know if it was part of the show. I don't know. I doubt it. But she was messing with the Dybbuk box. She touched the Dybbuk box, and as soon as she went out to the hallway, she passed out, and she had to be escorted out. So, so I want to say that I do like Zach's museum. It's pretty cool. As far as the Demon House, there's a lot of things that you don't see on these TV production shows. So it would be unethical for me to say, well, this and that. I do feel that maybe there was something negative there. We have a lot of supported claims from actual law enforcement and psychologists and doctors who've seen this young boy go up the wall. You know what I mean? So I do want to say that there is some merit to it. The Demon House, I feel bad for Zach. The fact of the matter is that I think he had a tragic event with his eyes. Because
he's still suffering with that.
Now, was it something to do with the house itself on a physical level, or did it have something to do with on a supernatural level? I don't know. But I do think that there was merit to that case. And that's how infestation works. That's how this activity occurs. It can hurt and it can affect other people.
Yep.
So, I really enjoyed that documentary. I thought it was well done. Everything else that they do, it's entertaining for me. And I'll leave it at that. I mean, I have nothing bad to say against any of those guys. I think it's good entertainment value. I will say one thing though, that it's like Zach and his crew did make the paranormal more accessible. I know we've got some other shows like Ghost Hunters. I like those guys as well. I like their methodology and how they do things on a scientific level. I think they did wonderful as well. But the Ghost Adventures, they have brought the paranormal to a whole different level. And some say, and they say good or bad. That's not my place to say. Overall, they've had an impact on this field, and we have to recognize and accept that, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and out of that one, because I know Dr. Barry Taff, and I feel so bad for him. I even tried to get him on my show, but he's still struggling with the aftermath of the health effects that happened during that show.
It's tough, you know what I mean? Like these are real things that can happen to people. I mean, you suffer these things. I was just on a case with Joe Frankie, Jenna, Steph Treadway, and some of our foundation members who were helping us virtually. We were on a case back east a few weeks ago, and it literally took me like 2.5 weeks to recover. I'm still recovering from that case. So it was a tragic event that happened. Non-disclosure agreements were signed, so I can't say too much. Tragic event happened. There was nothing negative about the house. There was nothing there, so to speak. But because of the tragic accident that happened, there was a lot of energy there too. But at the same time, the house was older. It was built a long time ago. There was no grounding. It wasn't up to code. The house on the second floor was getting 5,000 milligauss of EMF energy. The power line was literally 5 feet outside the windows. You can open up the window and literally touch the power line. So you walk into that house. It was a fun house effect. I felt nauseated. I felt dizzy. And let me tell you something. The truth is, I would rather work a demonic case than have to work a case with those tragic events. And yeah, it's just it can affect you. It can affect you, and you've got to be really careful when you do this type of work. People have the stigma where I'm just going to go in, I'm going to investigate. But a good investigator always protects themselves and grounds themselves, but also realizes that there are going to be potential after effects when you're working with these cases.
Yep. Yeah. I know a lot of people joke about it, and I've even joked about it, but the paranormal hangover is real, people.
It is. It is. I literally was just like, and the frustrating part is I was just so out of focus when I came back. I had jet lag for like 2 weeks. I still have to type a report. I got to close out the case. I haven't typed up my report because I was just so tired. I just got back 2 weeks ago and I'm leaving again tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm going to try to get that report done today or sometime this week. But it's true, that paranormal hangover.
Bring your laptop and do it on the plane.
Yeah, I've got my MacBook. But it's amazing how that paranormal hangover is. It's true. At first, I was like, okay, so for me, I've investigated hundreds of cases, not thousands. With the foundation, I've been fortunate enough to work over 200 cases so far, residential cases, and maybe investigate like 4 or 5 outside of the foundation. I've done a couple residential investigations, but nothing as strong as what we deal with in the foundation. But it's true, there are after effects. I was working a case with the foundation last year with my team, and we went to a local house here. The client was reporting certain activity. It wasn't in the best area of town. It was a duplex, right? Crime-ridden, prostitution, drugs, that type of stuff. So I had 2 of my intuitives go in at separate times, not talk to each other. They both picked up an energy in the same area, corner. All right. And when we got home, I normally cleanse myself and my team, right? We'll do a blessing, whatever it is. I don't know if I forgot to do a blessing, but as soon as we got home, I think maybe one of my intuitives had something attached to them because they weren't feeling good. All 3 of my dogs on different floors of the house ended up getting seizures. And that was uncommon. It's like, why are they all getting seizures? We have cameras. I went downstairs, like 2 of my boys downstairs are getting seizures. My boy up here, he's hiding under the bed. He's afraid. He's terrified. He's trembling. He's shaking. We're like, no, we got to go back outside. We got to do this right again. You know what I mean? And so there are after effects, and there are the possibilities that these attachments and these energies can follow you home. And then also, I do want to get one thing out there. Okay. It's in my book too. Demons don't live in haunted houses. There is this idea and notion that demons live in haunted houses. Why? Why would they live in a haunted house? They have a lot of work to do, and that's to destroy and ruin lives. They definitely not going to be hanging out in an abandoned building or a house. So demons don't ever hang out in haunted houses. They don't live in abandoned places. They don't. It is the mere communication of you attempting to contact something that can attract these negative energies. It's like basically, it's like a Starbucks, right? Demons are like a Starbucks, right? Every corner, right? And I mean, they're just hanging out, whatever, doing their thing, setting negative intentions, they're plotting your demise and all that, right? And then, you call out, you place a drive-through order, I want a caramel frappuccino, right? But then you're like, oh, well, we got some pain and discontent to go. Let me go see what these guys are doing. Let me go see how strong they are spiritually. Let me go read their energy. Let me see if I can't mess them up. So that's in a nutshell how demonic energies work.
Leigh, she wants to know, do you carry any protection with you, such as a medallion or crystal?
So I carry my ring. It's a St. Benedict ring. And I carry just a little bracelet. But more importantly, I just carry my faith. I have a St. Michael medal that I wear, but sometimes I forget it. So I carry my faith. My faith is my ultimate source of protection. For me, I don't need a talisman. I don't need a medallion, to help remind me of my faith. I know where I stand within my faith. These medallions, they're just a good reminder, of what you preach, what you practice. Just like, I've got a lot of friends who are wonderful Protestants and they have crosses, what I mean? And that's a wonderful thing. It's not the cross that's giving you power. It's not the ring that's giving you power. It's not these amulets that are giving you power. In my faith, it's the faith in the divine, right? These are just reminders of what our faith is. I can look down and say, you know what? Thank you, Lord, for another day. Bless me, whatever. Sometimes these little things are key items to help you remember, you know what? I forgot to say a prayer today. So if I look down at my ring, holy crap, God, you know what? I'm so sorry, Jesus. I need to pray.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. I always tell people, if you think your teddy bear is going to protect you, 99% of the time it will.
Yeah. I mean,
you have that one spirit that doesn't care, but most of the time it'll do its job.
Well, yeah, it's the intention too, and that's my thing. It's like, who are we to tell people, what's right and what's wrong? If you believe that this thing is going to protect you, okay, It's not my job to judge you. Maybe theologically, ecclesiastically speaking, I may not agree with it, but I respect that decision. And I'm going to love you no matter what, because you are a human being. And my job is to love you, not judge you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, clergy, you guys have a problem of judging people instead of loving them. And I want to break that boundary. You know, like me, I love everybody for who they are. I don't care who you worship. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care what you do with your life. I'm going to love you and respect you no matter what. I may have differences in opinion, but that's not going to stop me from loving you.
Right.
That's not going to stop me from, living out my faith, because according to my faith, my faith comes from God and Jesus Christ. And if his love is shining and emulating through me, I'm going to be an example, and I'm going to show that to you. May not necessarily mean that I'm going to preach to you. Sometimes talking is too much. I am a man of action. Actions are better than words.
Yep, exactly. And since we're on the topic of protection, do you do anything to protect your house? Like my house, I have crystals everywhere. I have my own little white bubble around the house. And the spirits know, because I've actually had spirits follow me home and pound on my door because they were mad I wouldn't let them in.
So I have like 5 bottles of Florida water.
Love Florida water.
I have holy water. I have crucifixes. I actually have a St. Benedict medallion outside of my office door, because most of the work I do is in the office. And then my office is also sealed with at the doorway with blessed salt from the church. So that way, if there is anything, Ed and I are going to have a fight in my office. It won't go anywhere outside the house. But more importantly, the protection for me is just prayer. Prayer and sprinkling holy water or using holy oil. It's the intention. I'll go around my house. I'll put crosses. That's it. Just nothing really too drastic. Because of my faith of where I stand and what I believe in, like all of these things, symbolology. These are wonderful reminders. But at the end of the day, I rely solely on my strength. But holy water, holy oil does help. Crosses help. It's the mere intention of setting these things up and knowing that when you're performing these rituals, because that's what they are. They're rituals. Everything that we do in the church is a ritual. It's ritualistic in nature, whether people want to say it or not. From the Eucharist, from the Mass, from the prayer to communion to baptism, these are all ritualistic things. And so we live our lives according to certain rituals and traditions. And I choose to follow those traditions, and I use holy oil and holy water. I have my rings. I pray for my dogs every night. They have St. Benedict medals in their doorways. Every night. I have this firm saying in my house, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And so every night, the family, y'all need to be prayed up. You need to say a prayer, because I want to make sure that we are well grounded and we are protected and that we act on our faith. More often than not, there are people that say, well, I believe in God and I go to church. Great. But doesn't mean you have faith, really. It doesn't mean that you believe in these things. Wonderful thing. Like Rudy, I love Rudy. Rudy is a wonderful man because he's got some wonderful sermons. And although I grew up Protestant and I'm now Catholic, I love what he does. He has a wonderful family. They're always well prayed. They're always doing these wonderful things, activities, spending time with your family, going out and enjoying life. These are also forms of protection because you are invoking the good. You are invoking the goodness of God. God's grace is upon you. He's shining against you, with you. His love is emanating with you. So those are all forms of protection. Sorry not to get too preachy.
Oh, no, that's okay. Lee wants to know, what is Florida water?
I guess maybe it comes from Florida. I don't know.
No, essentially, I had to look it up just to make sure I had the date correct. But in the 1800s, it was a mixture of water. In the beginning, it was a mixture of water from Florida. But it also used different oils and scents. So it was kind of turned into a perfume that people used to, keep themselves smelling nicely. And then it developed into a method of protection. And I know a lot of people, especially, you find it everywhere in Florida, especially when you go to the thrift stores, the souvenir stores.
The botanicas.
Yeah, they're
Florida
looking
water
from everywhere.
Florida water, because my great grandmother was a high priestess in Santeria, so I have Afro-Caribbean roots. So I grew up with Florida water. You know, for me, Florida water is not really a form of protection. I just like the way it smells.
Yes.
I love smelling good. I have this
Mhm.
rule that whenever I leave my house, I have to smell good. You
Mhm.
know, and
Yep.
I put Florida water on me.
Yep.
And if it attracts people, then not. And if it keeps them away, even better.
Right. And that's what the original intention for it was. But I know people down here who make their own. I even have recipes to make my own, even though I haven't, because I'm just too lazy. Sometimes I have so much other stuff to do. But they'll use it for cleaning their house. You know, they fill the mop bucket up, they pour a half a cup into the mop bucket. They do dishes, they sprinkle a teaspoon or a tablespoon on their dishes before they wash them.
It's wonderful because
Mhm.
it lightens up the environment. It's a
Mhm.
wonderful smell. Like,
Yep.
you know, people say, and that's a great question. Like, what do you do to protect your house? Well, you know, we can do all of these rituals and all these blessings and all that, but
Mhm.
we're forgetting the most important thing is we have to take care of our house.
Right.
Clean our
Yep.
house. Clean your house.
Mhm.
Open up the windows, mop your floors, broom to the best of your abilities.
Right.
You know, that right there is setting a standard, right?
Mhm.
Wake up in the morning and fix your bed. It sets discipline. You wake
Mhm.
up in the morning and you fix your bed. It puts you in a routine, but at the same time, it puts you in a positive mindset because you're getting these small tasks done little
Yep.
by little. And by getting these small tasks done little by little, you don't realize that you're changing your chemical in your brain, and it's going to become a lot more positive. You're going to release more chemicals, this is serotonin, so to speak, whatever. Anyway,
Mhm.
doing these things will help you out. And these are, for me, are forms of protection because you are setting good intentions.
Mhm.
You know, you're cleaning your house because you are blessed and you are happy that you have your home. So you know
Mhm.
what? You take pride in what you do. These little things make a big difference.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
it may not make any sense, but here's the thing. If we are truly delving into the demonic, most cases you will see people are dealing with underlying traumas, and when you go into their home, it is in a ruined state,
Mhm.
hoarding, dirty dishes. They don't do clothes. They don't do their laundry. It's just
Mhm.
it's horrible to the point where it's you have to kind of wear a mask because it's so contaminated.
Mhm.
These demonic entities, they look for things like that.
They like that.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Actually, we're coming close to the end. Do you want to let people know where they can find you and anything else you have upcoming?
Well, I mean, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on fatherkendoctor.com. That's spelled out. And then you can also find me on sosmausa.com.
Mm-hmm.
Sosmausa.com, but mostly Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Again, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Always love our chit chats back and forth.
I love it. Thanks
And
for having me on.
it's always interesting. We'll definitely have to have you back on again. I'm almost done booking for the year, so we'll have to look into getting you in first thing next year.
Sounds good. That's
Get
perfect.
you
I'll be
back on the
waiting.
chat.
Sounds good, sister.
No problem. And thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned because next week I have my producer Todd Bates on the show for a 4th of July special, just to chit chat back and forth. And make sure you guys have your angry incense, which is what I call my sparklers, ready for the show and have some fun. So we will see you guys in next week. You guys all have a great weekend. Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.